All right, we got 3, 2. Welcome to the Common Man Sports Show. I'm your host, Nick Antonianis, along with my co-host, Owen Doran and Brandon Murdoch. Today, we got some basketball to talk about. We have about 4 or 5 more games left until the NBA season comes to a close, but there was some interesting news that we just broke today, actually. Bronny James Jr., before he announced that he was going to be entering the transfer portal, he goes on Instagram and announced that he's going to be declaring for the NBA draft. It is known to be a very weak NBA draft, so he has possible confidence that he's going to get drafted by a team. And we already know that his dad is pretty good at basketball, so he has a little bit of confidence that he's going to be part of an NBA team. But he did say that he is still going to be possibly transferring if he does not get drafted. So, Brandon, I'm going to give you this first question. What's your overall opinion about Bronny's situation, and do you think he will get drafted by an NBA team?
Well, I was telling you this earlier today. I think in his prime, if he does make it eventually to the NBA, he could be a serviceable backup point guard, play defense, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like, obviously not to the same standard as his dad, but from a statistical standpoint, 4.8 points per game, 2.1 assists per game, and 2.8 rebounds per game. So no, I do not think he should be going to the NBA draft, nor should I think he should be drafted this season. Granted, he's coming off of a year of having cardiac arrest in the offseason, so he didn't really have a full season. But no, I don't think there's any reason why you should be going to the NBA draft and you should be looking to transfer.
Yeah, I have to agree with Brandon here. It doesn't make any sense to me for him to go to the draft. He clearly needs to continue his development. And I think with NIL, especially, nobody should be fast tracking their path to the NBA. I listened to Hami Aka on JJ Redick's podcast last week, and he was kind of talking about his experience going 4 years in college. And during it, I kind of just had the thought he played Cassius Stanley, Kenyon Martin, and Scottie Pippen Jr. in high school. They all went to college at the same time. He took his time developing. They fast tracked and went one and dones. He's having a successful NBA year now as a rookie. So I think if Bronny wants to have a successful career, the best thing for him to do is to transfer, go to a different program, and continue to develop. Because I think if he gets drafted next season, we all kind of know why. It's that idea that LeBron's going to win your team, and you're going to be automatically turned into a contender. And I don't think Bronny wants that either. I think Austin Rivers touched on it a little bit, talking about he hopes Bronny doesn't get that treatment going into the league. And I think it would be smarter for him to just take his time and work on his game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to agree with both of you guys what you just said. I did think it was a little interesting that he decided that he was going to transfer and then he just announced that he's declaring for the NBA draft. It was a little odd, I would have to say. But the only argument that I can really say is when I said in the beginning, this draft class, people are saying it's one of the weakest. So he possibly has confidence that he thinks like, I'm going to be a second round pick. But the thing is he going to have playing time? Because he did have that difficulty with his health. He didn't get much playing time because I know it wasn't USC had a pretty top recruitment team right there. And so he wasn't able to actually play that many minutes at USC. But I really think he should have just decided to go for a second year. I mean, like you said already with the NIL deals, like all he has to do is just go to classes and he's going to make as much money as possible. And with his name, he's going to make money wherever he goes. And I don't understand why he was kind of like in a rush to possibly just go into an NBA team. Maybe, this is, hypothetically saying, what if maybe LeBron straight up said to him, like, hey, just let you know, next season is my final season in the NBA, so I want you to be part of an NBA team. I'm good. That's just me just randomly saying that right there because you probably heard that report already that he has 1 or 2 more years left in the NBA. So they're like, let's just try to get into the league as much as fast as possible so we can play together. But I wasn't really crazy about this decision on Bronny's part at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense, but like I get what you guys are saying about the NIL, but at the end of the day, I don't think Bronny James, whether he goes to the NBA or not, is gonna have to worry about making money for the rest of his life. So I don't know. I don't think NIL is a big impact for him necessarily. But I was reading about it today earlier. They're saying like he might use like those NBA workouts to kind of prove to teams that he's healthy and he's better and that he can play at a high level and then not actually go to the draft, but then go to college and then continue that development, continue to prove himself, and then especially if he goes to a team like Duke, who are rumored to be in it, with the talent they're bringing in next year, they're going to be on every single like high prime time platform. They're going to more than likely go deep into the tournament with the Cooper Flag and the 7-2 center they brought in. Like they're back to their Duke. Like they're going to be bringing names, bringing eyes to them, and him being developing in the NBA workouts and then going there to become even better is going to be huge for him.
I'll say one thing that I think is kind of smart about this decision is it was a few years back where the rule changed where players declared for the draft could return to college. So I think him just giving himself multiple options is smart, rather than kind of just boxing himself in, staying in college. He can go talk to NBA coaches, get a feel for what his market is, figure out what teams think about him and what they think he needs to work on, and he can make that decision later on rather than just stick to one.
I do like the idea that he said that he was going to still go to, NBA workouts, try to build his craft. And if he says that he's ready to be in the team, then he'll stay, declare for the draft. But if he shows that he's kind of like out of shape or he's not ready for it, then he'll go back to college. I like that idea. But still, like, I think he's jumping the gun a little bit too early at the end of the day. I mean, like Brandon said, that he's averaging like 4 points per game in his first season with USC, and he was riding the bench the entire time. Like, take some opportunity to give some time. I know that he, dealt with the cardiac arrest. He wasn't going to play many minutes anyway, but still, like, give more opportunity to prove yourself, and then you would possibly be that first round pick that you were projected to be before you had the cardiac arrest. But overall, that's just my opinion.
I had a question for you guys with this. I was talking to my brother about this yesterday. So, complete hypothetical. What if it's true? LeBron James will sign for whichever team drafts Bronny for a team-friendly deal. Realistically, how high do you think Bronny could go? Because I was looking at the mock drafts yesterday, and the Grizzlies are picking 6. They're projected to be picking at 6. And the Grizzlies, obviously, we know this season has been terrible for them injury-wise. Do you think the Grizzlies would pick Bronny at 6 if it meant LeBron James would join the team next year?
No, I still don't think he's anything more than a second round pick.
I don't really see it, to be honest with you. I mean, with
As,
how desperate, you could say, quote unquote, desperate, how they are, I don't see them stooping that level and drafting him just so they can recruit LeBron.
yeah, 39 to 40-year-old LeBron is not nearly as enticing as maybe 10 years ago to waste a first round pick on his bum, or at the moment, bum son.
That's fair. I mean, give
Feeling
him a break, dude. You had a heart attack.
a contender.
Hey, he's
The
not NBA
Thunder or
worthy right
Grizzlies?
now.
Definitely not NBA worthy right now, based on what he showed. I mean, I don't think any team could draft him based on what he showed in college.
But it also kind of shows this specific news story that college players are so desperate to go straight into the NBA. And I was having a conversation with this with a couple of my coworkers yesterday. I hate the rule that it's like a one and done type of thing. I would love to see like a possibility of more college players decide to stay like, 2 or 3 years or even stay into their 4th year to kind of give themselves to develop. And also, you're making money with this NIL deal situation. Like, we've seen it from like the women's basketball situation. They're making as much money as possible and they're playing all the way until their senior year. I would love to see that from the men's side, having like a top recruit. We saw it with, Grayson Allen. He stayed 4 years at Duke University, still was a first rounder, and he's still a bucket with what team is he a part of? Is he a part of the Suns?
Yeah, his son's now.
The
Yeah,
Suns?
he's
Yeah.
the
So
Suns right
like
now.
I want to see more players deciding to stay more in college, knowing that they have the money and knowing that they can just casually just play college basketball. The only thing you're worried about is classes, but at the end of the day, you're making money playing basketball. So like
Class.
quote unquote classes. Did you see that
Yeah.
post with the Duke University students? Like, are these college players still going to school? And turns out, yes, they are.
Yeah, they are going to class.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
this was
agree as
before they got
well.
eliminated.
Like I mentioned with Hami, like he played 4 years and he talked about how important it was to his development. And we've seen how important he's been to the Heat team this year. So yeah, I 100% agree. Like college players should be incentivized to stay now because the only
Yeah.
reason you jumped to the NBA so early was for the contracts, for the money. So now you don't need to do that. If you can make hundreds of thousands or a couple million while playing in college, and you can work on your game. I think that would do monumental things for the league because you would have less busts. That's like from 1 to 14, how many are actual turning into star players every single year? Like this draft class now, how many freshmen can we confidently say should be going to the NBA next year?
Not many.
Maybe
No.
one. Yeah. So I think it would be smarter for them if they just stuck around in college. You're getting paid. You're working on your game. It's just smarter in general. The best of the
Exactly.
best should still be one and dones. I think Rob Dillingham, for example, should still be a one and done. Next year, Cooper Flag should be a one and done. Those things still exist. But for a guy who's questioning it, you should stay.
Exactly. I really do agree with that. And it's like you
100%.
also have to focus on the development. I mean, for example, a lot of people have been saying that Zion has been developed really well when he was part of Duke University. But now you're starting to see his body is not ready for like it's not looking good for the NBA. He's been injured almost every single season. So, you have to have that I thought in your mind like you have to develop more so you can get ready for the NBA. So, I do agree with what you're saying right there. Speaking of injuries, this goes right into our next topic. So, as a Knicks fan, this is frustrating for me to say. At the end of the month, at the end of January, or I think it was like January 28th, Julius Randle suffered a really bad shoulder dislocation. And they were so kind of like against him getting surgery. They're like, oh, he's at rehabbing, he's making progress, he's not ready to shoot yet, all this type of stuff. And we got a report the other day saying that he is going to be undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery, so ending his season. And it sucks because it took him 2 months to decide the situation, and they're going to say he's probably not going to start the beginning of the season next season. So I can confidently say that this time for Julius Randle is coming to an end. But Owen, I'm going to ask you this: what was your overall opinion about Julius Randle getting this surgery, and what does this mean for the New York Knicks?
So for the first thing, my opinion on it, I think he made the right choice throughout it all. I know Knicks fans are a little upset saying why did it take so long for this decision to be made. We all know he was trying to make a push for the playoffs. We all know he wanted to come back. So he was just leaving room for that to be possible, and now it's not. So he's made the decision to get surgery. So I think that's normal. That's fine. That's usually how the process goes. Um, but for Knicks fans that I think are a bit like disappointed, um, I think they're kind of just they're victims of their own delusion a little bit. Since January, we've been hearing this common thing like, wait for the Knicks to get healthy. Oh, the Knicks are the Boston's biggest threat until like when they're healthy. And that just was never the case. I think it's a disappointing thing that we won't get to see a healthy Knicks team in the playoffs get bounced in the first or second round so that they could all kind of just shut up. For the next season, we're going to have to listen to Knicks fans talk about, oh, well, we didn't have Julius Randle, didn't have OG Anunoby. We're going to have to listen to this nonsense from Knicks fans for the next year until next playoffs. Julius Randle averages 17 points per game in the playoffs. He is the biggest choke when it comes to the playoffs in the NBA right now. He's had 3 series and he hasn't performed in any of them. So
He isn't playing
this
defense.
this might be better for the Knicks, giving the ball to Jalen Brunson, only Jalen Brunson. Get the ball as far away from Julius Randle as possible. But overall, I don't. Yeah, obviously it's going to take a hit. Julius Randle was supposed to be All NBA this year. Was he going to perform in the playoffs? I don't know. I don't think so. But there was always that potential that he was going to turn up and eventually show up. But in general, I don't think it changes too much. I think the Knicks lack star power when it comes to the Celtics and Bucks. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Giannis, Dame. They're miles ahead of Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. So Jalen Brunson has burst onto the scene this year, but in my opinion, he's not better than Brown even. So can't even compare him to Jason Tatum. So I think when it comes to the Knicks, they'll be a fiery team in the playoffs. They play with grit. They're a tough team. But it's a tale as old as time. Tom Thibodeau kills his players.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely it definitely sucks to see Julius Randle get hurt because like you never want to see it happen. It's never the fun situation. You want to see the best versus the best. But at the end of the day, I definitely had more faith in you guys than Owen did because I'm not gonna lie, fully healthy, I definitely thought you guys could have made an Eastern Conference Finals run. Would you have beaten us? No, let's not be crazy. But you guys definitely could have made the run there if fully healthy. But like Owen also said, it's gonna be really annoying for the next year when we hear all the excuses about he wasn't playing, he wasn't healthy, Nixon's 6, like fully healthy. Like it's gonna be annoying. But at the end of the day, you guys definitely had a shot to go on a deep run. Jalen Brunson's gonna have to play even better now. He's gonna have the ball even more in his hands. But then honestly, I have a hard time seeing you guys beating Orlando in the first round. If it goes that way, it looks like that's what it's aiming towards right now. That matchup, whoever gets home court's still up in the air, 4-5. If it goes to Orlando, I don't know if you guys are winning a game. If you guys are home court, I think Orlando beats you in like 6 or 7.
Yeah, I would have to say if the Knicks are going up against Orlando, I know that it's going to be a first round exit. This Orlando team is so good, and they're just like like Paolo Banchero was one of like the top players in the league, and he's starting to show it right there with that future of Orlando. But talking about this Julius Randle situation, I don't understand how. I mean, look, it's the player. I think that Julius Randle did not want the surgery to begin with. He wanted to get back out there and he wanted to play. And that's a safe thing to say. After hearing that they got OG Anunoby and then they go out and acquire Bogdanovich and reuniting with Alec Burks, he's thinking, okay, this is a good contending team. I want to make as much possible chances of getting back into it. But thinking about it now, after seeing so many reports, they're just like, he's not making any progress. He hasn't been cleared for any physical contact. I was like, why are they taking so long to just end his season? I mean, at the end of the day, but it's the player. And I do agree with you guys are saying here that, yes, the Knicks were going to be a good team, but they still weren't the team that were going to possibly beat the Boston Celtics because, the Boston Celtics, everyone's having them as favorites to win the NBA Finals. Knock on wood for you guys. But it just sucks to say that this could possibly mean that this is the end of Julius Randle's career with the New York Knicks. And I really think that this is a possibility that they can just find ways to trade him because he's not going to start the season in the 24-25 season and try to find the best deal you can possible and then go out and acquire another star for the New York Knicks. And like you said, Owen, him in the playoffs is not that great. Last season, he was not good. The season that they were against the Atlanta Hawks in the I'm trying to think I think it was like the
21.
2021 season, Julius Randle wasn't good. And maybe this could be a blessing in disguise that he's not playing. You can finally have OG Anunoby, who he just got upgraded as questionable for today's game against the Bulls. Possibly he can come back for the playoffs and maybe they'll make a good run. Who knows? But this was a very frustrating thing to hear about the Knicks and their, you could say star player. I mean, he was an all-star this season. Their star player in Julius Randle. It was pretty frustrating to hear.
One thing I'll add, Nick, is I remember on a previous episode that we made kind of talking about the Knicks, the biggest question mark about them for me, was Julius Randle's playoff performances. And I said maybe this year, after we get another good look of him on a good team, for one, the Knicks will finally kind of make that final decision of whether or not this is our guy moving forward. And I think, every year Julius Randle kind of had that trade value. The Knicks have been in a difficult spot. After his All NBA season 2021, he shit the bed in the playoffs. His value got tanked. Then the following season, he continued to play poorly, so his value just went down again. And then it went back on the rise. And now he's injured, so it's back down. So he's never had like a consistent value in the trade market, which is probably going to be difficult for the Knicks and a little disappointing if they let him walk. But yeah, I think it's just a little annoying if you're a Knicks fan because for the sensible Knicks fans, at least the ones that are aware that they're still a step away from a championship, the ones that are aware like Julius Randle needs to be switched out for a different star. I think it's going to definitely be frustrating because the team really has no idea where they're going to go leading into next season.
This might open the door for the Donovan Mitchell trade to finally happen.
It could be.
The
Honestly, it
inevitable
could
trade.
be. I mean, you never know. I mean, do the Cavs really want a half a season Julius Randle? But the Knicks do have 6 first-rounders, but I don't know if they're going to trade 6 first-rounders for Donovan Mitchell. Maybe 3.
We could also see maybe Donovan Mitchell grows a little tired of the Cavs this year. We know he wasn't really too interested in joining them originally. Obviously, that can change with time, but maybe another bad playoff performance, and that's him out of there.
And I know that there's a possibility that the Los Angeles Lakers were interested in Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the Lakers are trying their absolute best to find ways to acquire another superstar for possibly LeBron if, LeBron stays with the Lakers, and Anthony Davis. I've heard like Trae Young was in the conversation, and also Donovan Mitchell, and Austin Reeves would be like the centerpiece around that. But to kind of like talk, the next topic that I really want to talk about today, I don't know if you guys heard this report, but Gilbert Arenas, I think he was on a pod with Shannon Sharp, and he straight up said that Nikola Jokic, the 2-time MVP, is the worst MVP in the last 40 years in the NBA. So I'm going to open up the room here. Whoever wants to start, what's your overall opinion of what Gilbert Arenas said about Nikola Jokic?
I'll take this one because
all right, Owen, go ahead.
You can go, Murak. You can go.
No, you go. I interrupted.
All right. I can't stand Gilbert Arenas. Like, ever since he started his little underdog show, I can't stand him. And there's just like the nonsense that he spews on his show. That doesn't make any sense. Nikola Jokic is the worst statistical center. He's probably the greatest statistical center to ever win the award, first of all. And his argument was just all over the place because he started talking about seeding, how the Nuggets are a 3 seed. Kevin Garnett won MVP as a 6 seed. Russell Westbrook won MVP as a 6 seed. So that doesn't even make any sense to me. I think Gilbert Arenas has this idea that he was a all-star, made 20 all-star teams and 10 all-NBAs, when that's true. I don't even think he won a playoff series in his career. He just thinks he's greater than what he really was, and he just gets up on his little show and just spews complete nonsense. I think it's safe. You said 2-time. I'm going to go ahead and say 3-time MVP. Nikola Jokic, he's going to win it this year. He's the most dominant player this year, consistent all season, and he's been winning games. Gilbert Arenas just does things for clicks. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Arenas is really just another example. You see Shaq do it all the time. It's an old head hating. Like, the only reason why Jokic isn't going to win his 4th MVP in a row this season is because Embiid bitched until he got his own MVP. And the difference between every team and the Nuggets last year was Nikola Jokic and why they won the NBA championship so easily. It looked like what we're seeing from him is never going to. Actually, I shouldn't say that because Wemby's in the league, but has never been seen before. Nikola Jokic did it. He's changing the game as a center. And a lot of Arenas' argument, like, we're congratulating him for almost getting a triple-double in the 26, 10, and 8 was one of his stat lines for his MVP year. And he's like, and then like you said, he brought up the seeding. At the end of the day, the only reason why he was a 5th, like in a low seed, is because he didn't have Jamal Murray for half and a full season of those two runs. So of course, they're not going to be a number 1 seed, but they're robbing. And then I don't know. I think it's just ridiculous. I think he's just hating the hate, and like you said, he's just doing it for clicks.
I can safely say that this was the dumbest thing I ever heard. I purposely did not want to hear the main reason why he said that he was the worst in the last 40 years, because I knew it was going to be some bullcrap nonsense here. And even the season where Jokic was supposed to win MVP, and it ended up being Joel Embiid last season, that was the season where his whole entire team was fully healthy. Jamal Murray was finally healthy. Michael Porter Jr. was fully healthy. And guess what? They ended up winning the NBA Finals. And after just seeing Jokic play this season, he was kind of like having like a quiet season, I would say. And then there was that one game that he had like 7 steals and he had a triple double, and everyone's like, "Yep, he's gonna win MVP again." I mean, he is so incredible, and he's just always a easy pick to win MVP. And this is gonna be a little bit of a bold take coming from 2 Boston fans, I'd rather have playoff Nikola Jokic than playoff Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I mean,
Jason Tatum has the most playoff points since he entered the league.
But the NBA Finals and the Western Conference Championship last season, Jokic basically took over.
I think Tatum has had better
Yeah.
individual games than Jokic, but as if you look at everything together as a whole, like individual games in bigger games
Are you
than
talking about like
Jokic.
in clutch moments?
Yeah, like game 6 on the road against Milwaukee, game 7 Philly. I don't think Jokic is touching
Mhm.
that. But if we're counting it all, yeah, I'd probably go Jokic. Like he's just too
Yeah, I mean,
consistent.
I probably have to agree, especially since he's like a command center. He just gets everyone involved around him. Just the perfect player to have in the middle of the floor. Um, but one thing I want to add, like with Gilbert Arenas, I think it's pretty obvious who the worst MVP in the last 40 years is, and it was a result of voter fatigue. Like Embiid got his last year. LeBron should have won 4 in a row. Derrick Rose doesn't deserve an MVP. We can all admit 2012, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, but we can all admit like LeBron James should have won that year. Like Derrick Rose, I'm pretty sure averaged 21 points per game that year. Great season for a young guy like him, but that was probably the worst MVP season. And it was a
Didn't
result of
Steve
voter
Nash
fatigue.
also did Steve Nash also won like an MVP when he averaged like 16 points per game or something like that?
Yeah, he stole one from
Yeah,
Kobe.
and Kobe, I think
Yeah, he stole
Kobe
from
averaged
Kobe.
like 30 that year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's
So
always been a lot of like
there's been a few where like it's very arguable. Like Dwayne Wade does an MVP. People think he deserves one. Kobe only has one. People think he deserves multiple. So there's so many that you could argue against. And I think this year it is a tight race. You got Ant, Shea, Tatum, Jokic, Giannis. There are a lot of guys you could pick from, but they're all very close. Like there's no stand
yeah.
out as like, not that good. Like Jokic is having a great year. I don't think that can be disputed.
I know that we have Owen's pick of MVP, but Brandon, who do you have winning MVP this season?
I mean, I really wanted to say Tatum. I really wanted it to be him, but I won't be biased. I gotta go Jokic too.
I mean,
It's too easy.
like I said, it's a very easy pick for Jokic to be MVP, like I said before. But you also have to put in conversations for SGA. I mean, I know Shaq
Mhm.
mentioned that he has his pick, and you know the Thunder. You can say whatever you want about them. I mean, they're not the team that they are without SGA. He's been an absolutely dominant player. He's always been when he's been with OKC, but this season he's starting to show as this dangerous figure in the NBA.
Because they're
And
winning now.
yeah, they are. I know that I still have to say though, they are such a young team, a very young team. Let's just say that much. That starting five is like younger than 23 or 24 years old. I saw a stat with that.
Mhm.
I still think they have one more year until they become like a big figure for the rest of the NBA. They're going to be good in the playoffs. I think they're ready to start in the playoffs, but I don't think they're ready this season. But next season, they're going to show that they are literally one of the best teams in the NBA.
I think that the
Yeah, I
biggest.
agree. You can go.
Oh, sorry.
You can go. You
I
can
was
go.
at
I
the.
cut you off
I
last
think the
time.
biggest, the biggest turning point for them will be what they do if they're an insane amount of draft capital, because obviously they're not using all those picks.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to use it on, and who's going to make their team better?
It's true.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've been interested in because still think they have like 15 picks to use, and
Something
I'd
like
say they
that.
have a
Something
good like
absurd.
I'd say they have like a good 6 roster spots filled up for the next 10 years. So it'd be interesting. They could package those 6 picks, get whoever you want. You could do literally anything in the trade market with that amount of picks.
Mm-hmm.
But with Shea, I think that he'll be treated similarly to like Luka and Tatum in the MVP voting, where time will come. He's 26 right now, I'm pretty sure, so he might get a little pushed to the side on voting because of that. Same way Luka and Tatum have in years past. But yeah, I think he definitely should be in contention for it.
It's frustrating about Luka Doncic because that guy can score so many. Like this guy just improves each and every year. And he even said that the NBA is much easier than the European Basketball League. And he was an MVP when he was 18 with Real Madrid. But I think this is I think every single year he's improving. I think he's averaging like what 34 points per game, I believe, and he's not even going to be in the conversation for MVP, which is frustrating to say because it shows like how stacked the MVP roster like look is. I mean, it's one of those situations that I'm like, whoever wins, I won't be disappointed. That was the same thing last season. You know, we had like Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, and there was someone else who was in the conversation, and Embiid ended up winning. I was like, okay, that's fine. It's probably going to be the same thing this season. I'm like, I'm fine with whoever wins because they kind of deserve it
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
I think I think like the interesting award this year is going to be who wins Defensive Player of the Year. I think kind of people see Rudy Gobert as running away with it, but in my opinion, I think Victor Wembanyama has to be considered for it. If you look at his stats, they're comparable to Gobert's DPOY years.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's a rookie, so the league might not want to give him one so soon. But I think what he's done this season has been ridiculous, and like it has to be awarded. Like you have to acknowledge it.
When there's a betting line for whether or not you're gonna get a quadruple double, you're in good shape for the Defensive Player of the Year award.
I do agree with the fact that
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
the Defensive Player of the Year situation, I still have Rudy Gobert winning it, but give some more respect to Wembanyama. I mean, he's leading the league in blocks, and I saw a stat that he has more blocks this season than 86% of the NBA in their entire careers. How nuts is that?
Well,
It's ridiculous. And
he
I
had
know you
9
can make the
better than
argument,
Jokic.
he's the only thing that's doing that he's doing anything for San Antonio. Forget about that shit. Like once he has a star player, maybe DeJounte Murray will come back to San Antonio.
Trae
You can have
Young.
that duo right there. Maybe stuff will be cooking, but forget that crap saying that he's doing everything. He is literally a phenom. Like he's literally a freak of nature. And I would be totally fine if, he is in the conversation of defensive player of the year, but I still think they're going to give it to Gobert
Yeah.
because they're feeling
I
a little
think
bit.
once you get a triple double with blocks, once you get a triple double in blocks, in my opinion, the case closed. You give him the award midseason if that's the case.
The one
He had
season that Draymond Green won defensive player of the year, that was the season that he had a triple double from steals. And he only had 4 points that game. I think he had like 12 rebounds, 10 assists, and I think he had 11 steals.
It's crazy.
And
Yeah,
that was the
that's
season that
nuts.
he won defensive player of the year. So say whatever you want, but that can also be
Yeah.
an argument you could say right there.
You could also say, Rudy Gobert, a lot of people have said this in the past, like regardless of Wembanyama, they said he's a bad on-ball defender, which is true. If you get a switch on him and you bring him out to the perimeter, he's pretty easy to get by. Not Wembanyama. He's extremely hard to get by. He's good at
Mhm.
guarding the 1 to 5. Maybe not everyone in the league, but he can guard more or less every position and give them a problem.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Jokic is one of the best post scorers, paint scorers in the league. One of the most tricky players to like defend. He had 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that blocks on him alone the other night. So I think that goes without saying. It's pretty damn impressive from a 19-year-old.
It is.
Yeah,
And
it's
he's going to
safe
just
to say
improve
he's
from
one
there.
rookie of the year.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
done with the Chet talk. Cut the Chet talk
that should
out.
be a unanimous
Yeah,
decision for Wembanyama to
yeah,
win. People are
There's
saying
gonna
this
be one
stupid
person.
crap
yeah.
saying he's a
There's gonna,
pro already. And like, shut up. Like, this is
I,
probably going
I
to be the
can't
one
lie.
time you can win.
Midway through the year, I was definitely on like the Chet side of things. I was like, they're the 2 seed. They're gonna make the playoffs. Chet's going to play a big role in all of that. After the second half of the season, what Wembanyama's been doing, it's no. You can't
I
even
mean, don't get me
consider Chet.
wrong.
You shouldn't
Chet
even.
has
They
been
shouldn't vote.
incredible.
yeah, he's been great, but he's in a bad year. He's in a really bad year for rookie of the
Yeah,
year.
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
bad
It's the
decision.
worst year to be a rookie,
I mean, he missed
especially
the
since he
first.
got injured as well.
I was about to say his first season, he
Yeah,
missed the whole entire season. And now he's playing every single game this season, which is a great bounce
yeah,
back. Who
yeah.
who won last year for
Rookie
rookie
of
of
the
the
Sure,
year?
I'm trying to remember.
Was it? It wasn't
Who
Paolo,
did
was
win?
it? Was
It
it
was
Paolo?
Paulo.
It's
It
Paolo.
Yeah,
was
it was
Paolo.
Paulo.
Yeah,
Okay.
Paolo.
So I mean, maybe he could have had a better chance, but I don't know.
Yeah,
But
because Paolo kind of just walked away with it. Like nobody really.
no one
Jabari
was
kind
gonna
of
trust
didn't have
him.
a great rookie year.
Like people
Christian
were
Braun,
having
like their
questionable
own.
stuff about LaMelo Ball winning it the year before because he only played like 40 games. Like he
Yeah.
was. I mean, that kid can't stay healthy. I can safely say.
I
Did
don't
you see
know
what LeVar Ball said?
Yes, I did.
what he said.
So Puma, basically he blamed Puma for LaMelo Ball's injuries and said that they need to come back to him.
But what about Lonzo blaming BBB for his injuries?
No, we don't talk about that.
Hey,
It's Puma's
hey,
fault.
Lonzo is coming back next season. I can safely say he's coming back next season.
I hope so.
No,
I
he's
heard the
not.
rumors. I can't say I gotta give LeVar credit. He's great at getting his kids to the league. Is he good at keeping them there? Not really, but he's good at getting them there.
Hey, look, Leandro is still pushing for a job. He's playing
He's
in the
playing in
Mexico
Mexico
League.
right now. He's the farthest thing for the NBA.
I feel so bad for
He's
him.
the
He should just
healthiest.
stop. He's
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 he
the
the
is the
healthiest of the
healthiest.
healthiest.
family.
He
So
did
I
it to
mean, hey,
himself though. He did it to himself.
He did. Anyway,
yeah, I
I
mean, he
think
was
that's
never that great.
a good time to stop right there. So I would like to thank Owen and Murdoch for taking the time to come on this pod. So be sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for more videos. Be sure to check our website for more articles. Brandon's got some good stuff coming up, and I got some stuff coming up as well. And hopefully, Owen, you'll get some good articles coming in pretty soon as well.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for watching today's video. My name is Nick Antonias, along with Owen Doran and Brandon Murdoch, and we'll see you guys in the next episode when we talk about the playoffs for the NBA.